Hey guys, I'm Itty Designs and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm starting to work on the accessory pieces for my Toon Zelda cosplay. So at this point on my channel, I've already shown you the progress that I've made on the dress and the tabard, and now I'm getting into all the little fiddly bits. The little accessories like her belt, her chest plate, her crown and other headgear, and her wig and such things like that. So these are your more crafting type pieces as opposed to sewing based. So there will be some sewing involved. And these are also the finishing pieces. Like these are the last things I need to make before I can consider the cosplay finished. Now the thing is, these are also the areas I have the less expertise on, I guess you can say. I'm a sewist by trade, that's my thing. Embroidery is something I've been learning, but I've gotten a lot better at. I am not a foam worker, but I have a really good grasp of foam work theory, and I'm really glad that just a few days ago from when I'm filming this, I was hanging out with my friend Solty Sketches, who truly is a jack of all trades, like incredible, and is very well versed in foam work. And I work really well when I'm taught like with someone next to me, like actually showing me and like, you know, like, oh, try this way if I'm not getting it. So we had like a full-on lesson on foam work with my new Dremel and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to giving it all a try. I have some patterns made up. I did use Falky's patterns a little bit, but I did have to adjust a few of them in a few areas, especially the chest plate to fit me. But I will be using them as a base, so I'll put some links in the description below to her shop so you can check them out for yourself if you're also working on this cosplay or other Zeldas, because she does have other patterns on there as well. But yeah, I'm going to start off by getting my table set up here and my mat so I can start cutting out pieces, because that's the first step. I can't do anything to the pieces unless they are cut out. So these are the patterns from Valky here. This one I'm not adjusting at all because it was pretty much perfect and ready to go. This one I had to adjust to my size and my preferences and based on what I did with the dress. But now essentially I'm just going to trace out the piece with a Sharpie so that I can actually see the tracing without denting it like a pencil would. And then I have this cool thing. So I will be experimenting big time. This will be my first time actually using this on a project. This is the Bev All tool. So I'm going to be able to put in the blade here so I can get a perfect bevel shape, because you'll notice that some of the pieces have marked bevels on them. I luckily have a lot of foam so that if I mess up, this is no biggie. But anyway, well, now I thought I got the one that is actually compatible with these guys, but it's only compatible with a regular X-Acto knife. So luckily, you know, I have a few of those lying around. So this is the bevel tool. In this case, this piece is not going to need bevels because it's going to be straight up and down. I'm going to put bevels in later with the Dremel. But it is going to help me keep everything nice and straight and flat. I did a few test cuts and I'm actually really happy with it. I'm not too worried about the burrs because again, I learned a lot of Dremeling advice from Solty, so I'm not too concerned about it. But I am going to go in and I'm going to trace out this piece here, and later on I'm going to put on all the details. But I'm going to trace it out, I'm going to cut it out, and then I'm going to put it aside, and we can start worrying and doing the same with these guys. And these guys, I'm going, for the belt pieces, I am going to try beveling out the edges. So the plan is that I'm essentially going to play around with the different angles that the Bev All allows me to do, and then cut out the pieces using those angles. So I'm just gonna start tracing things out and trying and cutting. So, oh, also just a little note is I got all my foam and a lot of my materials for this from Red Moon Cosplay using my friend Little Al 1990's code for 10% off. Go check that out if you want some. Okay, let's get working on this. So I got this piece cut out and it was pretty uneventful. There's a little bit of some problems here, but again, I'm gonna fix that with the Dremel afterwards, but you know, it cut pretty good. And then I was having some problems when I did some other test cuttings with the Bev All, and then I just realized it's how I had the little, the X-Acto knife in here. And I use this more curved blade and it's such a game changer. So I'm going to experiment further on this piece right here, because look at this cut versus like that cut. Night and day. So yeah, this little curved guy is the best thing I could have used. Who knew? This is why you do tests. Luckily, like I said, this guy will still work, so we're just gonna put him aside because they're perfect. And now hopefully the 8 squares like this that I need to cut out will go a lot smoother. Okay, so I now have a bunch of my little squares cut out. I have 2 of my pieces for the chest plate cut out because one of them I actually cut a bit better. I have the little belt backing pieces cut out, 3 of them because I did cut one a bit poorly. And I also have these circles cut out. So welcome to my front porch, by the way, because this area is away from cats. It's easy to keep ventilated as I have literally windows to be opened right here, which I will pop open in a second. I will be starting off with some Dremeling because I'm not gonna go hardcore on the Dremeling yet. I think I'm gonna save most of that work for tomorrow. I don't know. I am kind of be fighting the sun here a little bit because the lighting isn't great in here once I need to turn the lights. The belt buckle piece in the middle, it will need to be Dremeled and such before I glue it together because this is the only part that's gonna need glue so I can get this little circle. I also might use some foam clay after to kind of like build this up a little bit. But before I even consider gluing it together, I wanna get the innards of this Dremeled up because I will not be able to get in there very easily afterwards after it's glued together. So I'm going to Dremel the inside of these and then use my little thing of contact cement, and that should be pretty good. While we're doing it, the Dremel is first I'll just be basic Dremeling through the edge with the sandpaper function, and then I'm going to knock the edges a little bit with the stone bit at the end. This is a trick that Solty showed me. It just makes everything look super finished compared to just like if I had just gone and just painted that. So that's where we're at right now. I'm gonna go ahead and start Dremeling a little bit, and then we'll see where we're at from there. I'm also probably gonna order some food because I haven't eaten much today. So as I do this, hopefully the food will arrive. That would be nice. Okay, so first of all, my cat is on the other side of my window yelling at me because he has no access to this front room. But I now have these all sanded down, Dremeled, and now I'm going to take some all-purpose cement and I'm going to put a little bit on either side. So on this side, this one, to this right here, and I'm gonna put them together. They don't match up 100% right now, but I do have some gap filler is what it's called. That's not the accent, that's just what it's called. So essentially we're going to put these together, and then once it's dry I can go in and Dremel it a little further than when they're a solid piece, which will have to end up being tomorrow because it takes a while for it to dry or cure completely. And then I can go in with the gap filler after that's all done and like fix it all up so it looks gapless, so it looks like a nice little full disc. But I'm really happy with the shapes that I've gotten on these pieces. So now it's just about putting glue on either side, putting them together, and then I'm gonna just put it aside and I'm gonna keep working on these other pieces. I'm not gonna get through all the foam work today. It's getting cool in here because it is nighttime now. It's dark, it's cold, but we're making good progress. I think I'll probably be out here for a good deal of the day tomorrow working on this, and I'm not quite done yet, but yeah, it's going well and I'm enjoying it. So that's the important part, right? I'm still wearing the mask, by the way. Anyway, so I have a successful disc at this point. As you can see, it's a little rough in some areas, but I will deal with that another time. For now, I'm going to move on to working on some of these pieces a little bit. I think I'm just going to do this piece and call it a night. This one I'm just going to do the edges and then knock this very gently. And then I'm going to figure out if I want to do like divots in for this. But that, for now, we're going to just clean up the edges and knock the edges. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm going to go in with my Dremel. I did some tests on my little test piece here. I'm going to use it to angle in
angle out along the lines to make it look more three-dimensional and more interesting and textured. And then I'm going to do the same angling right along the marked areas as well. I'm going to deal with the circles later on the design, but I'm a little nervous about this because I could really mess it up, but it could also work really, really well. So I'm going to basically angle this by having it on my shoulder, so I have full control through my wrist, my arm, my shoulder. I should not lose control of the Dremel this way. Let's do this. Whew, I'm nervous. Let's see, I have it angled, it's on my shoulder.
Okay, so it is the following day. I am back out in my front porch with my jacket on, and last night I didn't get it on camera because my camera was about to die, but I did get some foam clay out and filled in some of the areas. So the areas where I nicked areas or that just needed a little smoothing out, I have put some foam clay in the gaps and such. It's actually pretty smooth. It looks rough right now, but you know, that's the nature of it. This one's gonna need a little bit more time to dry before I do anything else, but I filled in the gaps, but I also built up the front a little bit so it's a little rounder and a little bit more 3D, but not like too much. Either way, I'm really happy with how these pieces are looking at the moment, but I'm going to have to put them aside for a little bit because I want these to dry a bit better, which means that today I'm going to move on to the belt pieces. So that's these right here. Got a little stack of them. And I am going to sand down the edges a little bit, like with a stone bit, and knock the edges so they're nice and clean. And then those will be done. And I'll probably be a bit of a stalemate for a little bit because I'm going to let these guys dry for a bit before I sand them and then completely finish them. But either way, this is going pretty well. I spent about 5 hours total working on stuff yesterday. I'm really happy with some of the shapes I've acquired on here. I'm going to move on to knocking these edges, making them really nice with the stone bit. I really like how that finish looks. I'm really glad that my friend Solty Sketches showed me this trick because it just makes the piece look so like refined. And I really love the way that the Bev All also cut the pieces. Like, it's really, really satisfying. So I'm all in all very happy with how this is going so far. It's making me feel a little bit more confident, maybe taking on some bigger projects in the future, who knows? But for now, I'm gonna get my mask back on. I'm going to work on getting these guys all nice and finished so I can put them aside and not worry about them. And they'll hopefully be ready whenever I get on to the next steps with the other pieces. Okay, so it is a beautiful day out, so I'm out in my front porch again, and I've made some more progress off camera. These little pieces, the little belt pieces, are now all ready to go. Those that had little like nicks and stuff, I put some gap fillet in and they are nice and smooth. This is what I'm talking about, by the way. It is genuinely called gap fillet. It's pretty funny. And edges are sanded, everything's ready to go for that. I've used both foam clay and gap fillet on the belt buckle, and it's nice and smooth now. Like, this is, she's smooth. I'm really happy with it. Like, it's, yeah, really happy with how this is looking. This piece turned out a lot better than I expected it to. And then there's stuff that I did to this piece, as we can see. So I've gone and put gap filler and foam clay first, and then I use gap filler afterwards to smooth things out, to smooth out nicks and some of the edges, because the corners were not as clean as I would have liked them to be. And as we can tell, I've also put some holes in here, and that is because for the this is not the actual Triforce that I'm good at using. These are just rough holes. I'm going to keep them rough because I'm going to be gluing in these rhinestones to kind of balance some of the other rhinestones and like shiny things elsewhere in the costume, because I just feel like that will look really quite nice. I've also remembered that she has rivets on the side too, so I got some googly eyes to the good old googly eye rivet trick. So that's they look very funny and they make sound when you shake it. But I'm going to use some glue and glue these things into place. When I go to do some plasti dip and stuff like that, I am going to have to cover up my gems and such, but that's all right. I'm just really excited that we're at the point that we're working on these things. I really like how these fit inside. They're still gonna stick out a little bit, which is really nice, but all of those pieces will be ready for plasti dip.
So for the tiara, I decided to actually use foam clay because I really love this stuff, and I also really enjoy sculpting. As you can see, I'm also using those lovely blueprints that Valky Designs provided, and it was a really big help for kind of visualizing the process here. I really enjoy sculpting. I have a little bit more experience with it compared to other foam work, and that's because I took some classes on it when I was in high school. I like just rolling out shapes and like figuring out how they look by hand, measuring things, and just playing around how the shapes end up turning out. It was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoy sculpting, and foam clay is a really fun medium to use. I especially like the Lumens foam clay, as it's kind of a better foam clay. I like the way it dries, I like the way it can mold, and I was using also some water and some popsicle sticks, as well as just my fingers, just to get some of those shapes the way I liked. Now, of course, some of these shapes ended up being a bit rough, but those would be all smoothed out and figured out later. But it was kind of nice to just kind of go with the flow and let the shapes kind of happen on their own. The center of the tiara was absolutely my favorite part to do, especially because it wasn't a uniform piece with a bunch of duplicates like some of the other ones, those little side pieces. I liked getting the little divot in for the crown, as I'd be making the gem for it later down the road, so it was really fun to kind of push in that shape and kind of visualize how it would look with all the pieces together. I do enjoy the little shapes I started with for the side pieces though. They kind of start looking like a little bean, and then I turn that bean into a much point to your shape to get those nice little sharp edges down the line. I quite enjoyed them, but I liked the process of figuring out how to start from one shape, a rolled out shape, to again get to a final shape.
Okay, so we are back in my front room, and I have gone and put, it's a big noise. I've put some gap filler on the back, so you can't really see the little holes that I put in to get that in, but they are now glued in place. They sure do make noise. The main thing I'm working on today, besides like a quick sand down of this to get the texture gone, is the crown and the little hair, all the headgear essentially. It looks rough, but here's what the crown currently looks like. So my goal today is I'm gonna make them a bit smaller by sanding them down. I'm gonna go crazy on the sanding. I might also cut into it a little bit if I want to. Just make them a little smaller, essentially, because they're just a little too big and chunky, and obviously they're very rough because of the way I made them. These little pieces, they're stuck to the board right now. We're gonna sand them as well, but honestly, they turned out pretty good. I don't need to do much else to them. They are kind of adorable, and I love them. And I will need to sand them a lot because when I pull them off here, they are stuck to the board. Oh yeah, look at that. So we're getting to the end of the crafting molding section, and then we get to the part I like, which is the painting. This has been a lot of fun so far, but anyway, I'm going to go in and really refine the sculpting work that I've done on this. I'm definitely gonna have to do some stuff to the backs as well, but yeah, I mean, you know. Alright, so it has been a time and a half since I last checked in on this vlog. It's because I actually had to take a pause on working on these costume pieces for a little bit. I took a full-on hiatus because my wedding was coming up. So I gave myself like a little breather between like leading up to the wedding and after, so I wouldn't burn myself out while also trying to do creative projects. So I am now officially married, and I've been now back at it again on this project. So there are some things that I just didn't get to film very much because it would be awkward filming angles and such, but I did get all of my pieces plasti dipped, and that took a while because I had to wait for good weather, and then that's when I had to start the little hiatus. Next up, I need to actually start painting some of the pieces. So what I have done at this point is I have two pieces painted up to this point, and that is the chest plate and the tiara. And honestly, they went really, really well. I experimented mixing some colors. I found a really, really lovely metallic gold color that I really like with the other colors of the costume. And I also ended up using some browns to kind of go as low lights. And then I found a metallic light pink that's almost white that I ended up using for the highlights that I really, really love the effect of, because like it acts as a great highlight, but then it's also pink, so it ties into the other areas of the costume super, super well. And I'm really happy with the paint job. I'm very, very happy that the painter's tape actually covered my Triforces on my chest plate, because now it actually, like, it didn't get damaged or anything the whole time. So the little crystals I have on the chest plate are all a-okay and safe, and they're nice and shiny. The pieces are now all painted up, and I am going to touch them up in a few places before I call them final. The chest plate piece is 100% finished now. I have two rare earth magnets on the back of the piece, and it just kind of snaps into place. I put some little, I call them fabric raviolis, onto the back of the bodice piece of my dress. So now I take this here, right? And it sticks on. And the hold is super strong. I do have felt on the back of the piece, and I've also recently felted the back of the tiara as well. And there are 3 magnets on the tiara. There's up here and right here. And I have some magnets on some hair clips like these, little barrettes. So I did it this way so because the magnets were not strong enough to go through the wig, but I now have this piece almost ready to go. And see, that's how it looks on the other side. And then the middle one goes like that. So that is so I can put it on anyway on any wig if I decide to switch out wigs, so I don't have to keep switching out magnets on the wig itself. So I'm very happy with this. I do need to do a few little touch-ups and such to it, and obviously we are missing the piece in the center here. For that little center piece, I've already gone ahead and I molded a shape of the crystal that I want in there out of some oven baked clay, very similar to how I did things for my Sakizo cosplay. And then I took some silicone and made a little mold out of it. So I mixed part A, part B, poured it in, and then when I pulled it out, I have a mold now of this shape. And this shape fits in to here. Now, unfortunately, my fit is not 100% perfect, which is part of the reason I did paint all of this pink. The idea is I'm going to mix the resin today to put into my mold, and even though I know it doesn't 100% fit, the plan is to attach the final gem into it. I'm going to use clear resin to fill it. So I'm hoping, the theory is that when I do this, if it glues it in place, it can kind of help fill some of the gaps a little bit. So I think this will work. I'm really, really happy with this so far. It does still need some touch-ups. I had to take it apart and put it back together again, so there's a few places that need some touch-ups, but It's working. I'm very happy with how it's turning out. I'm not a prop maker once again, but considering I'm not a prop and like accessories or foam person, the fact that I have a piece that is cut from foam and carved into, and a piece that I sculpted out of foam clay, and they're working so well, it makes me very, very happy. So today I'm going to mix some resin. I'm going to put some pink dyes in it, as well as some sparkles, I think, because I think sparkles will just add to it. And that is my plan to get to for at least the day today. And then I can actually start painting the other pieces, because I haven't even gotten to the belt pieces or to the little hair clip pieces, which those are going to be glued on with a different kind of clip than these that kind of sits out a little more so they go out on my head. Plan for those will be very similar. I will be painting them very similarly in the same kind of gold, same low light and highlight techniques, using that pink again on those edges to really bring out the edges to make it look as 3D as it actually is in real life. I'll be using a pearlescent paint that is slightly blue tinted for those little hair pieces, just to make them pop a little more, and otherwise using a white metallic for them. I'm planning to debut this costume at YetiCon, and so far I think we're gonna make it there. I have exactly a month from around today. I'm also working on like Anime North stuff right now too, so I might pause on this to get my Anime North stuff ready, but we're getting there. It has been a little while since I've checked in, of course, and since then I have completely finished these elements of the cosplay and actually finished the cosplay in its completion. So the rest of the parts of what I did was essentially I finished painting all of my pieces, and on the belt, once I made a little fabric belt, I glued on each piece, but only in the very center of the piece, so that it could work flexibly. Because something I noticed very quickly is if the pieces were all just side by side by side by side, they don't sit very nicely. So they needed to kind of be a little bit overlapped, and if you glued them all just flat to the belt itself, they would start to curve and get round, but they're supposed to be flat. So only gluing them down the very center makes it so that they can move around more flexibly. I can like roll this piece up when it comes to travel, which is perfect. It worked really well when I wore it at YetiCon. So yeah, all in all, I'm very happy how these pieces turned out. I can definitely confirm foam is not my forte. Of course, naturally, I am a sewist by profession, but also I can say I don't enjoy this kind of stuff nearly as much as I've ever enjoyed any form of fiber arts. And you know what? That's okay. I am really glad I did this though. It wasn't that I hated it. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I usually do with some of my sewing projects or other types of needle art crafts. I learned a lot from doing all of this. And again, like I have a really good grasp of the theory of how to work with foam and the like. So it's really good to put some of that theory in practice. And I'm really thankful for Solty Sketches for teaching me a little bit more about foam finishing. As someone who gets to judge cosplay competitions sometimes, I feel like it's really good for me to take lessons, to have lessons, as well as have a proper understanding of it, even if it's just in theory. The fact that I got to actually do all of these things, put my hand at it, makes me appreciate more the complexities of how complicated something is, just like, because in your mind it might not seem as much, so when you see it done really well, you can appreciate it even more. And I'm also very thankful to Valky Designs for sending me the blueprints of all the different shapes involved, like with the belt especially. The chest plate though, I had to alter it. A lot of these pieces were a lot easier to figure out with someone who had already done the base to help me figure out the shapes and such. Because again, this is not my area of expertise. I can't use my typical flat pattern drafting techniques in order to do this kind of thing. And all in all, I am extremely proud of the finished cosplay, because of course with all these pieces done, that means the cosplay's finished, and I got to wear it at YetiCon. That was so much fun. I only had a little bit of wear and tear, which I have since already fixed. It's actually the belt is currently what has a little bit of wear and tear. Still trying to figure out how it got it, but that's okay.
I was able to fix it up quite well. I'm really happy with this final cosplay. As said in the YetiCon vlog, I even say, could this possibly be one of my best cosplays? That's still up for debate. I don't know. It may be my new favorite though. I really, really loved wearing it. I am so thankful for many of the reactions I got to wearing it. The whole thing, like when I put it all together, I did the bad thing and didn't try it all on until I was at the con. But when I put it all on and there it was, I felt really good in it. I felt pretty, I felt cute, and I felt like Zelda from The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. It came together in a way that makes me really, really happy. I'm glad, like, the way I mixed colors and stuff like that, I'm glad that all worked out really quite well when you put it all together. So thank you guys all for coming on this little journey of making this cosplay with me. I hope it was enjoyable or interesting. I know that this one might have been a little different since we're used to seeing more needle related crafts with me, but this was really fun and I hope you enjoyed the journey along with me. I'll be wearing this cosplay to future cons and I have a few ideas for it coming up. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and look forward to more content involving this cosplay. See you later.